Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809. His first home was a very small log cabin. This cabin had only one room. It was located in Hardin County, Kentucky. At that time, Kentucky was part of the American frontier. Life on the frontier was tough and demanding. Families had to build their own homes and find their own food. Young Abraham experienced these hardships from his earliest days. His surroundings were simple, and comforts were few. His parents were Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln. Thomas was a farmer and a carpenter. He worked very hard to provide for his family. Nancy was a kind and intelligent woman. She loved her children, Abraham and his older sister Sarah. Sadly, when Abraham was only 9 years old, his mother passed away. This was a great sorrow for the young boy. Her death left a deep mark on him. He remembered her fondly his entire life. Life in the log cabin was filled with daily chores. Abraham had to help his father with many tasks. He learned to chop wood for the fire. He helped plant and harvest crops in the fields. There was not much time for play. The family moved a few times during Abraham's childhood. They moved from Kentucky to Indiana when he was 7. This move was also to a frontier farm. Each move brought new challenges and hard work. Despite the difficulties, these early years shaped Abraham. He learned the value of honesty and perseverance. He saw how hard ordinary people worked. He understood their struggles and their hopes. These experiences on the frontier taught him important lessons. They helped him connect with common people later in his life. His humble beginnings were a foundation for his remarkable journey. He never forgot where he came from. Abraham Lincoln did not attend school for very long. In total, he probably had less than 1 year of formal schooling. Frontier schools were often far away. Teachers were not always available. Books were scarce and precious items. However, Abraham had a great love for reading. He had a deep hunger for knowledge. He wanted to learn as much as he could. This desire to learn stayed with him throughout his life. He taught himself to read and write. He would read any book he could find. He borrowed books from neighbors and friends. He read them by the light of the fireplace. Some of the books he loved were the Bible, Aesop's Fables, and the Pilgrim's Progress. He also enjoyed reading about history. He would often walk many miles just to borrow a book. This dedication to learning was quite unusual for the time and place. Young Abraham also practiced his writing skills. He would write on any surface he could find. He used a piece of charcoal to write on a wooden shovel. He practiced arithmetic using a board. When the board was full, he would shave it clean and start again. He understood that education was important. He knew it could help him improve his life. His efforts were all his own, driven by an inner curiosity. His self-education was a remarkable achievement. It showed his determination and strong will. He did not let his lack of schooling stop him. He believed in the power of knowledge. This commitment to learning helped him develop his mind. It prepared him for the great challenges he would face later. His ability to think clearly and express himself well came from these early efforts at self-improvement. He valued every opportunity to expand his understanding of the world. When Abraham Lincoln was a young man, he left his family's farm. He wanted to make his own way in the world. In 1831, at the age of 22, he moved to a small village. This village was called New Salem, Illinois. It was a lively place on the Sangamon River. Here, Lincoln tried many different jobs. He worked as a store clerk in a general store. This job allowed him to meet many people. He was known for his honesty and his sense of humor. He also worked as a postmaster for New Salem. This meant he was in charge of the mail. Being postmaster also helped him connect with the community. He read newspapers that came through the post office. This helped him stay informed about current events. He also worked as a surveyor. A surveyor measures land. This job required mathematical skills. Lincoln studied hard to learn these skills. He was always eager to learn new things that could help him. During his time in New Salem, Lincoln's character became well known. People liked his storytelling abilities. They appreciated his willingness to help others. He was physically strong and once won a wrestling match. But more importantly, he was known for his fairness. He earned the nickname Honest Abe. This reputation for integrity would follow him throughout his life. He built strong relationships with the people of New Salem. New Salem was where Lincoln began to think about a career in public service. He saw how laws and government affected people's lives. He wanted to make a positive difference. His experiences in this small village were very important. They helped him grow as a person. They also prepared him for his future in politics. New Salem was a stepping stone on his path to greatness. It was a place of learning and self-discovery for the young man. Abraham Lincoln's interest in public service grew in New Salem. He decided to run for political office. In 1832, he campaigned for a seat in the Illinois General Assembly. This was the state legislature. He did not win his first election. However, he did very well in the New Salem area. This encouraged him to try again. He ran again in 1834, and this time he was successful. He was elected to the Illinois House of Representatives. Lincoln served 4 terms in the Illinois legislature. This was from 1834 to 1842. During this time, he learned a lot about how government worked. He studied law in his spare time. He wanted to become a lawyer. He worked hard on issues important to Illinois. He supported projects to improve transportation, like building canals and railroads. He believed these improvements would help the state grow. He quickly gained respect from his fellow lawmakers for his intelligence and hard work. As a young politician, Lincoln began to form his views on important issues. One of the biggest issues of the time was slavery. Lincoln believed that slavery was morally wrong. He stated this belief publicly while in the legislature. This was a brave stance to take. He also learned how to be a good speaker. He practiced making persuasive arguments. He developed a clear and logical way of speaking. These skills would be very important in his later career. His time in the Illinois legislature was a crucial training ground. He made many political friends and allies. He also learned how to deal with political opponents. He understood the importance of compromise, but he also knew when to stand firm on his principles. These years helped shape him into an effective political leader. He was laying the groundwork for his future role on the national stage. His dedication to public service was clear to all who knew him. Section 5. A Springfield Lawyer, Building a Career and Family. While serving in the legislature, Abraham Lincoln continued to study law. He passed the bar exam in 1836. This meant he was officially a lawyer. In 1837, he moved to Springfield, Illinois. Springfield had just become the new state capital. Lincoln saw this as a place with more opportunities. He started his law practice there. He worked with several partners over the years. His most famous partnership was with William Herndon. Lincoln became a very successful lawyer. He was known for his honesty and his skill in the courtroom. He handled many different kinds of cases. He represented ordinary people and large companies. He often traveled to different towns for court cases. This was called riding the circuit. It meant long journeys on horseback or in a buggy. These travels allowed him to meet many people across Illinois. He gained a reputation as a fair and capable attorney. In Springfield, Abraham Lincoln also started a family. In 1842, he married Mary Todd. Mary came from a wealthy family in Kentucky. She was well educated and interested in politics. Abraham and Mary had 4 sons: Robert, Eddie, Willie, and Tad. Sadly, only Robert lived to adulthood. Eddie, Willie, and Tad all died young. These losses brought great sadness to Abraham and Mary. Family life was very important to Lincoln, even with its sorrows. His career as a lawyer provided him with financial stability. It also helped him develop his thinking and speaking skills. Arguing cases in court sharpened his logic. It taught him how to present facts clearly. These abilities were very valuable in his political career. Springfield was his home for many years. It was where he grew as a lawyer, a husband, and a father. These personal and professional experiences continued to shape the man who would lead the nation. Section 6. The Nation Takes Notice. Debates and Anti-Slavery Stance. After his time in the Illinois legislature, Lincoln served 1 term in the United States House of Representatives. This was from 1847 to 1849. During this period, the issue of slavery was becoming more divisive in the country. Lincoln opposed the extension of slavery into new territories. He then returned to his law practice in Springfield for several years. However, events in the 1850s pulled him back into national politics. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854 particularly alarmed him. This act allowed new territories to decide for themselves whether to permit slavery. Lincoln believed this act was a step backward. He felt it opened the door for slavery to spread. He began to speak out more forcefully against slavery. In 1858, he ran for the United States Senate against Stephen A. Douglas. Douglas was a powerful and well-known senator. Lincoln challenged Douglas to a series of debates. These became known as the Lincoln-Douglas debates. There were 7 debates held across Illinois. They attracted large crowds and national attention. In these debates, Lincoln clearly stated his views on slavery. He argued that slavery was a moral, social, and political wrong. He said that the nation could not continue to be half slave and half free. He famously declared, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." While he did not call for ending slavery where it already existed, he strongly opposed its spread. He presented his arguments with logic and passion. He showed himself to be a thoughtful and skilled debater. Although Lincoln lost the Senate election to Douglas, the debates were a victory in another way. They made him a prominent figure in the Republican Party. His speeches were printed in newspapers across the country. People began to see him as a strong voice against slavery. The debates raised his national profile significantly. They set the stage for his presidential campaign 2 years later. His clear stance on the most critical issue facing the nation made him a leader to watch. Section 7, President Lincoln, a House Divided. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was nominated as the Republican candidate for president. The country was deeply divided over slavery. The Democratic Party split into northern and southern factions. This division helped Lincoln win the election in November 1860. He became the 16th President of the United States. However, his victory was not celebrated in the South. Many southern states feared that Lincoln would try to abolish slavery. They felt their way of life was threatened. Before Lincoln even took office in March 1861, 7 southern states seceded. This means they declared they were no longer part of the United States. They formed their own government called the Confederate States of America. Lincoln believed that secession was illegal. He believed the Union of States must be preserved. In his first inaugural address, he appealed to the southern states. He urged them to return to the Union peacefully. He said, "We are not enemies, but friends." However, his pleas for peace were not heeded. In April 1861, Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter was a United States fort in Charleston, South Carolina. This attack marked the beginning of the American Civil War. 4 more southern states then seceded, joining the Confederacy. The war would last for 4 terrible years. It was a conflict that pitted brother against brother. The nation was truly a house divided, just as Lincoln had warned. President Lincoln faced an enormous challenge. He had to lead the nation through its greatest crisis. He had to find a way to win the war and reunite the country. He also had to deal with the complex issue of slavery. His presidency would be defined by this terrible conflict. He assembled a strong cabinet, sometimes including his political rivals. He knew he needed the best minds to help him save the Union. His leadership skills were tested daily. Section 8, Guiding the Nation Through Storm War and Freedom. The Civil War was a long and brutal struggle. President Lincoln took his role as commander-in-chief very seriously. He studied military strategy. He searched for generals who could lead the Union armies to victory. This was not easy, and he made several changes in command. He faced many setbacks and moments of despair. The early years of the war were difficult for the Union. Lincoln had to maintain public support for the war effort. He needed to keep the northern states united. A major turning point in the war and in Lincoln's presidency was the Emancipation Proclamation. On January 1, 1863, Lincoln issued this historic order. It declared that all slaves in the Confederate States were to be free. While it did not immediately free all slaves, it changed the nature of the war. The war was no longer just about preserving the Union, it was also a war to end slavery. This gave the Union a powerful moral cause. It also allowed African American men to enlist in the Union Army. Lincoln delivered some of the most powerful speeches in American history during the war. In November 1863, he gave the Gettysburg Address. This short speech was given at the dedication of a cemetery for soldiers. He spoke of a new birth of freedom. He urged the nation to ensure that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. His words inspired the nation and continue to resonate today. He redefined the meaning of the American experiment. Guiding the nation through the Civil War required immense courage and wisdom. Lincoln faced criticism from all sides. Some thought he was too slow to act on slavery. Others thought he was too harsh in his war policies. He had to make difficult decisions that cost many lives. Yet, he remained focused on his goals, to save the Union and to end slavery. His steady leadership, his patience, and his deep belief in democratic ideals helped steer the country through its darkest hours. Section 9, An Enduring Legacy, The Impact of Abraham Lincoln. The Civil War finally ended in April 1865. The Union was preserved. General Robert E. Lee, the Confederate commander, surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant. Just days after the war's end, a terrible tragedy occurred. On April 14, 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated. He was shot by John Wilkes Booth while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln died the next morning. The nation was plunged into mourning. His death was a profound loss for a country just beginning to heal. Abraham Lincoln's leadership saved the United States. He guided the nation through its most perilous time. He preserved the Union when it was on the brink of collapse. His efforts led to the end of slavery in America. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished slavery, was passed by Congress during his presidency. It was ratified shortly after his death. This was a monumental step towards fulfilling the nation's promise of liberty for all. Lincoln's legacy is one of freedom, equality, and national unity. He is remembered for his honesty, his wisdom, and his compassion. He believed in the common person. He championed the ideals of democracy. His life story, from a log cabin to the White House, inspires people around the world. It shows that a person from humble beginnings can achieve great things. He remains a symbol of hope and perseverance. Today, Abraham Lincoln is considered one of America's greatest presidents. Monuments like the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. honor his memory. His words, such as the Gettysburg Address, continue to be studied and admired. He helped to redefine American nationhood. He showed that the principles of liberty and equality are worth fighting for. His impact on the United States is profound and lasting. He truly was a leader who shaped the course of history for the better.